Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Brian's Horror Corner, and welcome to this horror Blu-ray movie review video as part of my current series where I'm taking a look at random horror movies from my Blu-ray collection. So today we're going to take a look at the second movie here that I'm going to review for this series, and that, of course, well, I shouldn't say of course, but that is the sort of ghost demon exorcist movie from 2009 known as The Unborn, which I have here on Blu-ray. Two versions of the movie, theatrical and unrated. And what's interesting about it is the theatrical version is PG-13. And then there's the unrated version, not rated. Of course, that's the one that I watched for this review. I guess I'm confused though. Why it would go from PG-13 to unrated? Wouldn't it go from PG-13 to R? I don't know. It's just a thought that I have. But anyway, the Unborn, I've had in my collection for about a year. Thought I'd include it in this series. So let's just go ahead and get into it. So, The Unborn is a 2009 American supernatural horror film written and directed by David S. Goyer. Goyer? Yeah. The film stars Odette Yutzman as a young woman who is tormented by a Dubik, and seeks help from a rabbi. The Dubik seeks to use her death as a gateway to physical existence. Produced by Michael Bay and his production company, Platinum Dudes, it was released in American theaters on January 9th, 2009 by Rogue Pictures, making it the last film Goyer directed. It also received generally unfavorable reviews from critics, but was a commercial success. So basically, the film opens with our main character, Casey Belden, who's having nightmarish hallucinations of strange-looking dogs in the neighborhood and an evil child with bright blue eyes following her around. While babysitting Maddie, her neighbor's son, she finds him showing his infant sibling his reflection in the mirror. Maddie attacks Casey, smashing the mirror on her head, and tells her Jumpy wants to be born now. She puts him to bed and leaves in shock. Casey's friend Romy tells her of a superstition that newborns should not see their reflections in the mirror for at least a year because otherwise they will die soon. Casey's eyes begin to change color. A doctor asks if she is a twin and explains the changes to tetraumatic chimerism and heterochromia. Yeah, I'm sure I'm butchering those, but the hell with it. And that is completely normal. Her neighbor's infant dies, supporting the superstition that her friend has. So that's sort of the setup, the premise, the beginning of the movie The Unborn from 2009. As far as the cast goes, we have Odette Yutzman as Casey Belden, Megan Good as Romy Marshall, Gary Oldman as Rabbi Joseph Sendik, Cam Gigandet as Mark Harridan, James Remar as Gordon Belden, Jane Alexander as Sophie Cosma, Idris Elba as Arthur Wyndham, and Gugino, Carla Gugino. How the hell do you pronounce her last name? Gugino? Carla Gugino. You know who, I'm sure you guys know who that is. She was in The Haunting of Hill House, and she's been in all kinds of things, but Carla Gugino as Janet Belden. So that's the setup, the premise, and the cast for the 2009 um, supernatural horror film, The Unborn. What do I think of this movie? Meh. That basically sums it up. Good night, everybody. No, just kidding. That's just a little preview. Let's just go ahead and get into my thoughts about it. I have some pros. I definitely have some cons, and so as far as the pros goes, most of these are going to be from a technical standpoint because this movie did have a pretty decent budget, which really comes through with sound quality and picture quality. There's some really nice overhead shots, some really nice camera movement, camera work that's effective, and overall it has really good cinematography. So that I can say for sure about this film, and I have to say this Blu-ray as well. Um, this really pops. I don't know exactly. Let's see. I don't know, but it's really top notch. Like the sound. I'm somebody that's damn near deaf, and usually when I watch a Blu-ray, I have to have it up to 30 for a volume. This I had at 27, and I could hear it plenty loud. So, really good sound quality. This it really transferred well to this Blu-ray. And the picture quality is great as well. So that's one thing I'll say about this Blu-ray, as well as the movie overall from a technical standpoint. I also think the acting's pretty solid overall, especially by Gary Oldman, Jane Alexander, and even the main character played by Odette Yustman. Yustman or Yust or Eustman. I'm guessing it's Odette Eustman. Despite not, despite the fact that none of these characters are well written, I feel that these actors and actresses did what they could and made the movie more believable than it otherwise would have been with other performers in those roles. So I want to give credit where credit's due. I thought those three in particular did a good job, but really overall, Idris Elba has a very small part in the movie, which was interesting. Carla Carla Gugino does as well. Um, but that's part of the. I think the fact that they were in this movie kind of shows that it had a higher budget too, because typically a low budget movie you're not going to get stars like that or big names. So I thought they did well though overall. There are some good effects when it isn't overly strong, bad CGI that's seen, like the cockroaches and the overall bathroom scene with the glory hole was pretty effective, as well as some of the more practical effects used for the final battle and climax of the movie at the end. I thought there were it looks like they used about half and half, although it might be more CGI and less practical effects. But some of the effects look better than others. I'm sure some of it might be CGI that just doesn't look as bad because of the camera, because of whatever. Some of it is bad looking CGI. But as far as the effects that really work well in this movie, the makeup effects as well, and the eye color changes I think are pretty effective throughout the whole movie, especially on the young kid, the young ghost at the beginning and throughout the movie. And even as we see other characters become possessed throughout the movie, I thought the makeup effects and the eyes and everything were really effective. Um, it was nice and different that the movie does use a different sort of religion to sort of exorcise the ghost or demon instead of the always traditional Catholic Christian sort of exorcism. This uses more of a Jewish background and a rabbi and the whole premise has a backstory with this ghost and demon and how it came to be from sort of a Jewish standpoint. So that was interesting and kind of different. I guess that's the one thing about this movie that they kind of do differently. And then my final pros, I thought the score and music used was effective. It wasn't overly memorable, but it certainly for what the movie was trying to do, I thought it was effective and it worked for the most part. So those are my pros for the Unborn from 2009. Now let's get into the cons or the things that didn't work for me. And the biggest thing about this movie is overall, it's just a very generic ghost possession movie that doesn't do anything new other than that what I mentioned just now about the sort of Jewish aspect and the rabbi instead of a priest. Um, but other than that, it really doesn't do anything new or there's nothing unique about this movie for this subgenre of exorcism. I mean, I don't know. It just kind of left me feeling very underwhelmed when the movie was over, and I wanted so much more from it, especially having it on this nice Blu-ray that really pops. But I don't know. It just didn't work for me. The story is poorly executed, both in terms of the writing and the directing, to where we as viewers aren't really invested or on edge watching this whole story unfold. Doesn't have strong, fleshed out characters for us to grab onto or be invested in. At the end, during the big showdown, even the main characters, even though I thought the actress did a good job and she was nice to look at, but as far as her character goes and other characters, even Gary Oldman's character, they weren't well written. Let's just be honest about it. And I don't think the movie's particularly well directed either. So that was definitely a huge problem with it. As I mentioned, there are some pretty bad looking CGI moments for some of the effects and scares used, especially when they do the whole head twist on the old guy. I think the dog too later in the film. Those are definitely CGI and they don't look very well. Don't hold up all that well. It does have your typical jump scares that aren't all that effective, especially in comparison to other movies of the time like Sinister, Insidious, The Conjuring, ones like that. This movie really comes up short from that standpoint in terms of effective jump scares. Um, yeah, and then let's get to the biggest reason that I'm not a huge fan of this movie. It's not scary. And I think a horror movie should be scary, at least somewhat. And it's just very bland and predictable. That's really the best way to describe this movie, with about three creepy scenes in the entire movie. as I said, really leaving me underwhelmed as I finished this movie. And it was just an underwhelming watching experience. That's just how I felt about it. Also, the whole ending twist was so obvious and lackluster that it really didn't need to be there. It doesn't leave the viewer with any type of scare or jaw dropping moment. It's more like, yeah, of course, very predictable. And on that point, my final con is there are a lot of plot contrivances related to the whole twin angle that are a little too convenient for the fact that three characters in this movie are a twin, basically. And now, well, I don't want to give away the spoiler. I don't know why I should really care, but the ending you find out there's going to be another set of twins. And so it's just a little convenient, a little hard to get behind and believe. It really asks the viewer to just go with it, despite the lack of truth that's involved in this backstory. Just not really that flushed out. So, yeah, I don't know, guys. It wasn't a great experience for me. Is it the worst movie I've ever seen? No, not even close. But it's just very run of the mill, generic, standard exorcism movie that happens to have a higher budget, with good picture quality, good sound quality, decent acting. Overall, though, it didn't scare me, and I wasn't really behind the characters with the story. So I'm going to give this movie a 6 out of 10 overall. I'll probably rewatch it again in a year or two from now just to see if my reactions change. I mean, I'm not going to get rid of it or anything. I'll keep it in my collection, but I was a little disappointed, to be honest with you. I was expecting this to be much scarier, just looking at the cover and stuff, and just kind of my thoughts about it. So yeah, 6 out of 10 for the Unborn from 2009. Go ahead and comment down below if you guys have seen this movie, what you think of the Unborn. Am I being too hard on it? Am I being too nice to it? I know there's not a lot of positive reviews for this movie out there. There's a couple, but mostly it's negative reviews, not just by the critics, but some of the other reviews I watch on it. So just curious what your thoughts are. Comment down below. Please like this video and hit the little notification bell down below so you don't miss any of my reviews for this current series. And please be sure to subscribe to my channel as well so you don't miss any of my great horror content, especially the month of October. You're not going to want to miss October, but even beyond that and into next year. So I hope you're enjoying this series so far. I hope you enjoyed this particular review. Hope everybody's doing well getting back into the fall of the year. And of course, as we're getting closer to Halloween in that month, stay scared. Bye.